Good morning, everyone. Here we are on Wednesday of a new week, the last week of August, and so I'm going to check in with you today. Of course, I have my coffee, still on that Starbucks Italian roast kick. Bought some more, really enjoyed it last time when we bought it, and so just re-upped again on that, a little fresh ground Italian roast to get my day started. I hope you are doing the same with your cup of coffee or tea or well, Denise's Diet Pepsi, so whatever is your caffeine of choice, I hope this morning you are off to a good start. It's an interesting year we're living in. We've said that a lot, but right now we see, particularly in this year already made interesting by so many things, we have, I'm sure you are aware, a presidential election. And so last week and this week, the national conventions for the two parties. True confession, I am not staying up and watching. I'm about the time they start, I'm pretty much winding down. I'm an early in the morning get up and go to bed pretty early as well. So don't try to stay up. But the beautiful thing of technology is that you can certainly get the recap and any of the speeches from last week or this week that you really want to hear or seem to make waves. You can pull those up and watch them. And it is going to be the next 9-10 weeks until the voting day and the presidential election. I'm sure that's going to continue and continue. We're going to be inundated by different people trying to convince us, trying to get us to their side. And really I say that because, I kind of gave a challenge to the church a few weeks ago, actually probably a couple months ago now, in this presidential election year. Will we as the church, will we as Christians resolve to more talk about our faith in Christ than our faith in a particular political candidate? That was sort of my encouragement to you in this season. And over the last several weeks, and really this last Sunday, we talked about how we have been sent. As the Father sent Jesus to the world, so Jesus is praying and sending us and commissioning us to go out. And why is that? Well, in my quiet time, in my devotional reading this morning, I am in the book of Romans. I've said to you a few times, I'm doing a Through the Bible in a Year plan, and so I'm almost 1 month left. At the end of September, I'll finish through the end of the Bible. So right now, I find myself in the book of Romans, and today was Romans 8, 9, and 10, and Romans 10 verses 14 and 15 really hit on this reality, on this theme. Listen to what Paul writes as he's writing to the Christians in that day. He says, "How then can they call upon the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." How beautiful are the feet of those. This book of Romans is the most complete theological treatise in the New Testament. It is Paul's sort of big book, the longest of the books, but big argument about what is the gospel. How does Jesus, as the fulfillment of the law and by his life and death and resurrection, sort of sum up and point people ultimately to God? And he's proclaiming this message. He's left this for us to kind of get an understanding of all the nuances, all the realities of the grace of God as expressed through Jesus. And here he reminds us that our call, our commission, much like we talked about Sunday, much like we know is the case, is to tell, because the only way people are going to come to know or come to faith in Jesus Christ is if we who know him, who are his followers, tell them. How can they call on the one they haven't believed? And how can they believe in one they haven't heard? And how can they hear unless someone tells them? How can anyone tell them unless they are sent? How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. To think that we have the privilege of sharing that message. One of the things I said on Sunday as I was talking about the reality that we are sent and that Jesus came as a servant. If you listened, I asked the question, what would it be like if we took a survey of our community and asked them what they thought about our church? And I kind of expressed saying, I don't know what we would get. Well, I want to tell you, this week I had a really cool experience. I was out it was on Monday actually. I was out in a local retail establishment, had to pick up a few things, and just out of the blue, the person who was helping me said to me, "Hey, you're the pastor of that Baptist church." I said, yeah, First Baptist down at mile marker 99. And this person said, I can't thank you enough for the help that you've given me. A couple of things that happened, some specific help when there was some difficulty in their life, and then they also have come to the dental clinic that we're hosting again just next month. And both of those things, as they thought about our church, that's what they thought of. And so that was a confirmation to me, and I hope to you, that we are doing the things that Christ has called us to do, to love our community, to act in that way. And the reason we do that is because we want this reality to also be a part of it, that we want to be the kind of people that then share our faith, not just do good, not just do the kindness, that's important, but earn the opportunity to go the next step and to tell them on the reason for why we do these things, and to invite them to place their faith in the one who we have believed in. We can be the ones who are sent. We can be the ones who have the beautiful feet because we bring the good news of Jesus, of his love, and of the salvation that God offers. You know, even as I think about that, I want to mention to you, take a minute and remember, who was it that in your life did that for you? Can you think back to that sort of formative moment? Maybe it was more than one person. It probably was more than one person for most of us. People or a person in your life that played a significant role in you coming to understand what salvation is, who Jesus is, the grace that has been provided, his life and death and resurrection. Who was it for you? There are probably some pretty important people in your life that it modeled it, that lived it out, and then ultimately that sat down and told you, that gave you the opportunity and preached, as it were, the message of the gospel. For me, I can think of a few people. I've talked about my grandfather a lot, and he was my hero. And one thing I remember about him isn't just all the fun things that we did, but often, because both my parents worked, they'd take us up to my granny and granddaddy's house in the morning before school, and they would see us off to school. And invariably, when we got there, my grandfather was in his chair. Granny had her chair, granddaddy had his chair, and he had his Bible open. And we understood that was time we weren't to disturb him, that he needed those minutes to read the Bible, to pray. And we learned very quickly that wasn't playtime. You know, he always gave us his attention, even, like I said, took us to work. But, you know, that makes an impression. And so you have conversations around the table or later about why he does that, or maybe every once in a while he'd tell us something he learned in that Bible reading. And I think of, beyond that, certainly people in my church family that were important to me, whether it was Sunday school teachers or youth leaders along the way. And then ultimately, I've shared this story before, it was my dad and my mom, of course, my Uncle Jimmy, and my pastor, Reverend Benz, that came to my house and sat down with me and answered the few questions I had and explained to me clearly how I could receive the gift of salvation through Jesus Christ, that he died for me, that though I was young, I was a sinner, and I needed to confess and admit that and ask God to forgive me and to grant me salvation. And through their personal example and through their personal witness, I came to a point of faith in Jesus Christ. All of that process building to that moment where in that evening in my house, I gave my life and heart to Jesus. And truly, you know, those are great memories for me. Those people, those individuals are people that stand out to me in my life because they took the time and they shared with me the message. You probably have similar stories of people in your life or maybe a particular individual that took the time to walk you through what it means, and maybe by their example demonstrated how vital this relationship with God, their relationship with God was, so that you wanted to know more, and they were able to share with you the very basic truths of the gospel, that God loved you, that Jesus died for you, that when you place your faith in him, you're forgiven and you're redeemed, and all the words that we use, saved, born again, all those phrases mean the same thing, that our relationship to God is restored because of what Jesus did. And how is that going to happen? You know, it's going to happen when you and I out of love for our neighbor, out of love for people, not just serve them, but also are willing to tell them the good news. And that's why the challenge. It's going to be tempting over these next 9-10 weeks to talk a lot of politics. That's going to just swirl everywhere. But the greater need of our country is faith in Jesus Christ. The greater need of your neighbors and our neighbors is to come to know the grace and salvation that God offers. And we are the ones sent to them. How will they call on the one they haven't believed? And how can they believe in someone they haven't heard of? And how can they hear unless someone tells them or preaches to them? And that's you and I, those of us who bring the good news. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Let's resolve, even in the midst of this season, this what can be a divisive time around political conventions and elections, let's resolve to point people to God, to talk more about the faith we have in God through Jesus Christ than the faith we have in any particular party or candidate in the midst of this season. So that's my encouragement to you this morning. Hey, as always, we're going to put the link for registration on this talk so you can be a part of our service on Sunday. We had this past Sunday, I think it was the most people we've had in person in worship since the beginning, since the very first week we reopened in June. So that was encouraging. It was nice to see the folks talking to each other. Of course, we're still doing the things we're supposed to do. We're spacing, we're distancing, we're wearing masks, those sorts of things to try to do what we can to, as we meet together, be safe in that way. But if you'd like to be a part of that, let us know you're going to be there, particularly as the numbers are going up for people coming. We just need to be aware if it's going to be a really big crowd, so we can plan more purposefully how to distance and how to seat people. So click that registration link. Join us on Sunday. Of course, we'll be streaming as well. Sunday morning, start a new series this week. We finished the last one, a new one for Sunday. I think it's called Everyday Disciples. And so I hope you can join us for that. Until then, I hope the rest of your week is really good. Here we are on Wednesday, hump day, kind of, it's all downhill from here, right? Not hopefully bad downhill, but just coasting to the weekend. So hope the week is great and look forward to connecting with you in some way on Sunday.